What's up, folks? It is week 9 of the NFL. We are officially here, fresh off of the resurrection of the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football against the Houston Texans. My name is Amir from the PTW Podcast, here as always with my good friend Tossi, the Football Greek.
What's up?
Fresh off of getting kicked out of Levi Stadium, watching the 49ers win Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. But that is a completely different story that I will save for another time. And I feel like it's safe to talk about it. But here we are. It's week 9. We've got a slate of games that we're going to go through. We're actually going to do something new on this episode of the podcast, where we're going to go through what an ideal 5-game parlay for us would be, what we think would be some good 5 picks. Obviously, you use your best judgment to pick whatever games you want to bet on, but this is the 5 that we would bet on. And then we might have some fun going back and forth about that, because we might have some differing.
They're going to see if we actually win it too.
Yeah. But this is a stressful week for me. This is a stress-free week for Tossi.
Oh yeah.
Tossi's beloved 49ers are on a bye week this week. What a prime bye week you guys got. Week 9.
So one thing the schedule makers did nice for us is put us right in the middle
gave you guys 8 games
of the season.
You guys made it to 500 in those 8 games.
Yep.
Got a nice little break here. CMC possibly coming back after the bye.
He'll be back.
All right, get some folks healthier, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Shanahan
Greenlaw too.
That's
going to be practicing, so we'll see when he'll be back. But he's on the horizon too.
Scheme some things up, and then you guys are back in the races, if you will.
Yeah.
My team is being set up for decimation. The Dolphins, for those who are new to our podcast, my favorite football team, coming off of a heartbreaking loss to the Arizona Cardinals at home to take them to 2-5 as opposed to 3-4. Now must travel to Buffalo to get owned pretty much and just go to 2-6. I mean, there's no nice way of putting it. It's they're going out for slaughter, unfortunately. Now I was wrong, because in the previous episode they are. I really, it's unfortunate. Now I was wrong in the previous episode. I did say that Houston was going to destroy the Jets, and the Jets won to them, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So hey, anything can happen. You never know. The Bills might have an off game. I highly doubt it, but they might have an off game, or it might be 27-3 at the end of the first, Buffalo, and then the game's practically over. But talking about the Jets, let's talk about them, because the Jets found some life. They finally get their first win since week 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Garret Wilson making arguably the catch of the year, one-handed grab, gets his shins into the end zone. The Jets have life at 3-5 as opposed to they were 2-6, so 3-6 as opposed to 2-7.
3-6.
What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah,
I know you're a big fan. You were a big fan of the Texans going into this year.
Yes, I was.
You had C.J. Stroud as an MVP candidate. Things are not looking like that's happening again.
Nope.
Injuries. Stephon Diggs out for the year.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But what were your overall thoughts on Thursday night's Jets win and Texans loss?
Honestly, it was a really sloppy game. I mean, the Jets actually played a little bit better than the score shows, because they should have had another touchdown. But I think it was Corley. He decided that he's going to pull the old Deshaun Jackson and drop the ball before he gets over the end zone.
I never understand this. Why
he dropped the ball?
This? Why players do this is beyond me. It reminds me of Leon Lett. As a Dolphins fan, it reminds me of the whole Leon Lett situation of just do what you're supposed to do.
Cross the line and then celebrate, bro. What? Who started the I'm going to drop? What? How does that make you I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
The first time I saw it was in the Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl with Leon Lett, where he's about to get that. What was it? Fumble recovery for a touchdown. I don't know what it was. And one of the Bills players. No, he didn't drop it. One of the Bills players knocked it out of his hand.
Yeah, that's right.
Before he crossed, I'll never forget that.
That's right. Yeah,
that's the first time I saw that.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But did they actually lose the game though?
No. But I think at the
That
time
one, yeah.
they would have had the record for the most points scored in a Super Bowl if he had
Yeah,
scored that touchdown.
yeah, that's right.
And instead it gets
Screwed it
knocked
all
out. I
up.
think it goes like out of bounds or something. It becomes a touchback, or
Rest in
I forgot
peace,
what happens.
Big
Yeah.
Leon Lett.
Yeah, yeah.
Big, good man, good player, hell of a
Yeah.
player.
Yeah, for sure.
So another thing, the Jets were, with Aaron Rodgers throwing finally to Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. They each had like 10 plus targets. I think Devontae got 11, Garrett Wilson got 10. I mean, just what you kind of thought was going to happen when you get like two stud receivers on the same team and not a lot of other things going on offense. So Aaron Rodgers just targeted those guys, and with Alan Lazard now on IR and out, so those guys are going to continue to be really good fantasy options. And like you said, Garrett Wilson making the catch of the year, Devontae Adams getting his first touchdown as a Jet. All great stuff there from the New York Jets. And then Houston, Joe Mixon, man, he's like their offense right now. Like he's like the only viable play in fantasy at this moment. And he was running the ball really well in the first half, and they kind of got away from him in the second half, and they ended up losing the game. So they got to keep running the ball, I think, if they want to stay dominant. But ever since he came back from his injury, he's been great.
Especially when CJ Stroud's stats, 30 attempts, only 11 completions on the game.
He's been bad. He's no longer on my MVP radar. Sorry, America.
We misled you early on in the season. Apologies about that.
It was just a prediction, bro.
Listen, everyone's guessing at the beginning of the season.
I predicted wrong. Okay,
everyone's guessing.
MVP.
Everyone's guessing at the beginning.
Unless he has an amazing turnaround and has an amazing second half of the season, which could happen. So the jury's still out. There's 8 more games. He's got 8 more games left to prove himself.
You never know.
So yeah, Jets on their way. Let's see if they can keep it rolling here.
Yep. Yeah.
Their schedule looks pretty. Actually, I was looking at their schedule, and they've got a lot of winnable games. They got 2 games against Miami, who's like you said, is pretty much down and out. And then they've got some other easier games. Like their schedule's not too bad. They got the Cardinals, I think, on there. They got 1 game with Buffalo, which is probably the toughest matchup. And then they got Jacksonville, like some other teams that aren't that great. So they might win. I would say out of they're 3-6, so they got 8 more games left.
Yep.
I could see them winning 6 of the 8. Actually, and finishing 9 with 9 wins, and that might be on the cusp of getting in the playoffs.
That might be enough. The AFC this year, funny enough, is the struggling conference, if you will.
Yeah.
Of the 2 conferences, the NFC is the conference that's stacked, and the AFC you've got the Chiefs, obviously still the only undefeated team in the NFL. You've got Baltimore. Granted, they lost last week, but they still look good. Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a significant drop after Buffalo, obviously. Buffalo. Yes. Sorry, Bills fans. Yes. Y'all are good this year.
You do not want to give
I'm not. No. Hey, I said at the beginning of the year that all this talk of the Bills being like washed or whatever because they lost. I'm like, I don't know what anyone's talking about. Like, Josh Allen is that team, right?
Yeah.
Sean McDermott is that team. That defense is that team, right? So I didn't think that they were going to have a significant drop at all. In fact, I expected them to be good this year. So, those 4 teams. And then you have a really significant drop with the rest of the teams. Then there's a huge drop off there. NFC is pretty much stacked. You've got Minnesota, you've got the Lions, you've got the Packers. That's all one division. You've got the Commanders, you've got the Eagles now looking good. All 4 teams in the NFC West are making noise. You've got, in the South, Tampa was killing it until they got decimated by injuries. Atlanta looks like the only viable option right now in the South, but nonetheless, there's more power right now in the NFC than there is in the AFC.
Fair enough.
Speaking of the AFC, though, we're gonna get started with our preview of this upcoming slate of games that's happening on Sunday.
Let's get into
Monday. The first is an interesting AFC showdown between two teams that are 5-3. The Denver Broncos travel to the Baltimore Ravens, an AFC West team versus an AFC North team.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. Both teams are 5-3. One's going to 6-3. One's going to 5-4.
Yeah.
Very realistically, there could be a tie in here. Maybe not.
No.
But right now, the Baltimore Ravens are favored by a whopping 9.5. They've got minus 9.5. They're coming off of a division loss to the Cleveland Browns on the road. What do you think about this? You don't think this is going to be close, huh?
Yeah, honestly, like when I first heard the spread, I was like, ooh, that's a tough number. But then I thought about how well Lamar Jackson had been playing up until the Cleveland game and how pissed off they're going to be. And also they just traded for Deontay Johnson, give him another receiving weapon on the team. So him, Derrick Henry, Rashad Bateman was kind of, flashing in 2 games ago. I think their offense is going to be able to put up a bunch of points, even though they're going against Denver's defense, which is really good. And they got Patrick Surtain, who's the best cornerback in the league. I still think they'll put up enough points to cover the spread. Just because I don't believe in Denver's offense.
No.
And I think that Baltimore's defense is going to play a little bit hungrier in this game. I think they'll cover the 9.5. Is it 9.5 now?
It's 9.5, yeah. It's 9.5.
That's tough.
That's a tough touchdown and a field goal. But
touchdown and a field goal. But they'll get it. They'll get it.
To piggyback off of what you were saying about not having faith in Denver's offense, looking at their stats right now, it's crazy when you compare Denver's offensive stats versus Baltimore's offensive stats. Granted, Bo Nix is a rookie and Lamar Jackson is a multi-time MVP player for the NFL, so it's not apples to apples. But Bo Nix has 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on the season. Lamar Jackson has a whopping 17 touchdowns and a amazing 2 interceptions on the season.
He's been incredible.
He's balling. And as far as rushing goes, I don't think really there's anyone better than Derrick Henry at the moment. I mean, having like the resurgence of his career at the moment.
Yeah.
946 yards on the season, barely at the halfway point. He's about to hit 1,000 yards rushing and has 9 touchdowns already. So it's
monster.
Offensively they're killing it, right?
Yeah.
But Denver's defense, I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to slow that momentum down or not. Who knows?
Yeah, I think Baltimore's just too good on offense. And they're going to be at home. I just see this as a get-right game for Baltimore after a tough loss. And it's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. I think they're going to come out and put up some points and show Denver why are you guys even 5-3 at this point? Because nobody knows why, except for them, I guess.
They got that fluky. Win against the Jets.
Yeah.
Right. Then
they've had some easy competition. They haven't really. I don't think have they played the Chiefs yet? I don't think they have. So
their division is not great.
Yeah, they probably played Las Vegas. They're terrible. So.
Yeah, and they lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Steelers. They somehow beat the Buccaneers. Pretty convincing.
That was a weird game. I remember
at Tampa Bay too.
Yeah, it was like Tampa Bay totally underestimated them, and then just
2 road games against the Bucs and the Jets, and they won both of those. Then they beat the Raiders. They lose to the Chargers. They beat New Orleans. They beat Carolina. Yeah, they haven't really beat any. I mean, outside of beating the Bucs, they haven't really beaten anyone of note. And no, they haven't played the Chiefs yet. They'll play the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, and they're gonna lose. So the Chiefs are gonna be by that time they'll be 9-0 because they're gonna win this week too. So
this is an interesting discussion. And in fact, I'm gonna add this to our thing. While we talk about the next one, because I have an interesting topic about the Chiefs to bring up in this. But before we talk about them, let's mosey on over to the NFC North. The NFC North has a badass showdown.
Here we go.
The Lions are traveling to Green Bay to play the Packers. Lambeau. 2 teams. Basically, this is for the crown at the moment.
Yes, it is.
To
It'd be the number
see
one in the NFC North.
6-1 Lions, six and
Versus six
two
and two.
Packers. Lions favored by 2.5 on the road.
Mm.
Jordan Love questionable for this
Yeah,
game.
growing.
What are you
Ouch.
thinking? Where do you thinking? What direction do you think this game goes in, man?
Yeah, so I think they're saying like I think Ian Rappaport reported that if the only way Jordan Love like doesn't play is if he like falls down the stairs, something like whatever that means. But anyway,
Yeah,
it sounds like he's gonna play, so they're gonna have Jordan Love, which which is a big deal because obviously he's a big step upgrade over their backup Malik Willis. I mean,
sure.
Malik Willis is filled in admirably when he's
Yes,
come
he
in, so
has. Yes.
which is pretty wild considering how bad he was for Tennessee. So,
Mm-hmm.
but having Jordan Love, who's been playing really well, really good football, and being at home, and I this is a tough game. The other thing that you got to watch out for is Josh Jacobs is also questionable, and he may not play either. So, like if he doesn't play, and you have Jordan Love, who's kind of he's got the growing injury, and he's hampered. He might not be up to speed. Like be able to maneuver, and that's kind of what LaFleur was saying in his press conference today. Like if he's not like able to move and do it, they might not play him still. So like I know the reports are out there that he's going to play, but we still don't know.
Right.
And then the Lions are just coming in so hot and so dominant. Like I think it's one of those. It feels like a trap game, right? Like where you're like, okay, the Lions are going to win. But these are the kinds of games like where everything seems stacked against the other team, and that other team ends up keeping it close and ends up winning. So, and I'm going to kind of give a little shocker here. I'm going to say the Packers are going to win this game. It's going to be like a tight game. It's probably going to be a field goal game. And I think in the end, the Packers are going to win by field goal.
That's a bold statement, man. I don't know. I don't know about this game. This is one of those games where, spoiler alert, it's not in my 5-game parlay because I don't know which way it's gonna go.
Yeah.
I think this is again, we've talked about this in the podcast before of quarterbacks needing time to truly find themselves and to be the leaders that they need to be for their football teams. Look at the year Jared Goff's having. And I absolutely, that has to do a lot with the pieces that are around him, of course. But you need to be able to pull the trigger too if you are a quarterback. And he is having as good a year as anyone in the NFL at the moment.
Yeah.
And so, and Jordan Love, that situation with Jordan Love / Malik Willis scares me, man. Like if I'm a Packers fan, this uncertainty of who exactly is going to be under center, depending on Love's health and all that stuff, doesn't make me comfortable. It doesn't give me confidence going into this game or the season in general. Now, granted, you have a badass coach like LaFleur who's going to like give you the best chance to win because he is a great game day manager, as coaches should be. I'm going to pick the Lions. I don't know if they win by 2.5. It might be a one game. It might be a last second field goal or like a 1 game thing. 1 point difference. So, but I'm thinking Lions. I like the trajectory they're on right now, and I think they are a team that every year there's that team that's really special, and to me this year that's the Detroit Lions. Even through adversity, Aiden Hutchinson goes down, and it's like that's cool. We'll pick up the pieces and we'll keep going. So I pick Lions to win this NFC North showdown. But we're going to go to, all right, and Packers for you.
Yeah, but this is not in my parlay either.
No,
I'm not putting this in my 5-gamer.
No, I don't. Nope. I don't know which way it's going to go. But, I mean.
It's going to be tight.
It's going to be tight, for sure.
Yeah.
Staying in the NFC. Oh, go ahead.
I think even if the Lions win, I don't know if they're going to cover the 2.5. So I think it's like going to be like
that's what I'm saying.
1 or 2 point victory either way.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be.
It's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to come down to a field goal at the end.
We're staying in the NFC, and a surprising fight for the crown. Who could have predicted that at the halfway point of the season that this game would be predicting who is going to lead the NFC West.
Yep.
The fight for the crown. The Rams are playing the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tossie, but if the Rams win
Yes.
and the Cardinals lose,
Yes.
then the Rams are the first place team in the division.
They would have I think they would be tied with the Niners at 4-4.
They'd be
Right now
4
they're
and
3
4.
and 4.
They'd be 4 and 4.
And they
correct.
have the tiebreaker with the Niners. So the Seahawks, if they lose, will be 4 and 5.
Correct.
So they'll be a half game ahead of the Seahawks.
Correct.
And if the Cardinals lose, they'll also be 4 and 5.
Correct.
They're 4 and 4.
Yep.
So they'll be a half game ahead of the Cardinals. So
correct.
If the Rams win and the Cardinals lose, the Rams will be first place from where they were a couple weeks ago,
which
incredible.
Was like
dead last and
incredible.
probably like pretty much thrown out with the trash,
Yep.
in the garbage truck, rolling around. It's like a big theme right now, but the Rams would be back, and they would, and like there was a little something that happened in practice. Puka Nacua landed on his knee, the one that's been injured the last couple of weeks, and they were saying that it's just like a bruise. He's probably going to play, but he's questionable. He didn't practice the rest of the week, and it's kind of like hit or miss with these things. You just never know. That's a big loss for them because he is so good, and he's so good in their offense. And like you saw last week when he came back, he's like over 100 yards. He's like the focal point of their offense. Besides Kyron Williams, at least their passing offense. And like without him, it's going to be hard for them to win this game. So it's really going to depend on if he's healthy or not for them to win. I think if he's in, they win. If he's out, they lose. That's my take on it.
Okay. Rams favored by 1. It's basically a pick 'em.
It is.
Vegas has no idea.
Yeah. So you wait till the morning of, and then when you look at the inactives, hour and a half before, Puka Nacua is in, I'm putting my money on the Rams. If he's out, it's on the Seahawks.
I see.
Simple as that.
Yep. There you go.
Class, like really high level analysis right here.
This is what
really
you come to level. The PTW podcast
exactly.
for. This high level.
It all depends on one guy, and to me that's Puka Nacua. He's that good.
I just think it's incredible that these two teams. Again, I don't think anyone had any hopes for the Seahawks at the beginning of the year. Granted, again, they've been decent-ish with a spark from Geno Smith the last year or so, but to be in this position at the moment, incredible. Now, granted, they did start the season 3-0, and now they're 4-4. So that doesn't say a lot. They've been 1-4 in the last 5 games.
Honestly, there's been some turmoil too. It seems like in their locker room, there's been some fighting. So I don't know how well. I think there might be a little bit something underneath there too.
All right.
So, yeah.
And for the Rams, complete opposite trajectory, right? Like, again, they were a 1-win team not too long ago, and now very possibly could be at the top of the division at the end of week 9. Tossie, I have a question for you. That's
very likely. I think the Rams probably going to win this.
Tossie, I have a question for you that's going to make your blood boil just a little bit. But while I get that question ready, this is a friendly reminder to like and subscribe to the PTW podcast. Again, we are making content twice a week after the slate of games on Monday night and before the new slate of games. After Thursday night, previewing the next slate of games there. Why can I not find what I'm looking for? It is right there. All right, perfect. This is live, folks. This is live. We are live. It is what it is. And we're figuring things out as we go along.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful stuff.
My question to you, Senor, is this. My goodness. Is it going to take me forever to get this ready? Okay, I got it now.
All right. I'm ready.
Here we go. What
is your question, friend?
We're professionals here. Don't worry about us. Tossie, I know you love the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they're your favorite team in the NFL. You rock the red and white of the Kansas. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you like the Niners. I apologize.
The red and gold.
The red.
Not the red and yellow.
I
All
have
right.
a prediction here
Okay.
that you might not like. I think the Chiefs are going to finish the season undefeated. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I know. I know the
This
schedule is
week,
really easy. Yeah.
this
Go through
week
it.
they've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday
Yeah.
Night Football. You and
Win.
I are both in
8-0.
agreement that they're going to win.
Yeah.
The following week they've got the Denver Broncos at home.
9-0.
And that is, yeah, and they're going to win that game. Now, this game,
Yeah,
funny enough,
Buffalo.
on my birthday, that's the one that if they win this,
Yeah.
I think the rest of the season is a cakewalk.
Yeah.
This, and because it's at Buffalo, so they
Yeah.
very easily could lose this game. All right.
Yeah.
But let's just put that in our back pocket for now.
Come
The
on,
following-
Josh.
The following week
Jesus.
at Carolina, win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vegas at home, win.
Yeah.
Chargers at home, win.
Yes.
At Cleveland, win.
That's another one. I'm telling you, with famous Jameis in there, man, that might be another one that they could possibly lose.
You never
Okay,
know.
let's keep going.
Houston at home,
Let's see how Houston's playing. Hopefully, they're playing a little better.
at the Steelers,
That's a tough one.
and at the
That's
Broncos.
a tough one.
At the Steelers Christmas Day, by the way. That's Christmas Day.
Maximum, and this is if they don't win any of those tight games, they could lose 4 games maximum. That's all I would say.
Bills, Steelers,
Yeah.
who else?
Browns,
You're thinking the Browns game, okay?
potentially.
Yeah.
And the other one it was
The Broncos
Texans,
at the end?
Texans,
Oh, the
Texans,
Texans game.
Texans. Yeah, so those are 4 games potentially that they could lose. But the only game that they really could lose
Is the Buffalo game.
is the Buffalo game.
That's the Buffalo game.
And if
And
they
it's
win the
at
Buffalo
Buffalo.
game, I agree that the chances of them going undefeated are pretty good.
If they beat Buffalo in
Yeah.
Buffalo,
Yeah.
I think the chances skyrocket. And you very
Yeah.
could easily be looking at, I mean, if they three-peat,
They won't.
right. Well, let's see. Let's see who their NFC opponent is. Because if it's the Lions,
Yeah.
I would agree that they're not going to three-peat. But if it's like, I don't know, the Packers or some team that kind of squeaks by, some 6 seed or something like that, that kind of
The Niners.
squeals their way back in. We'll see, right?
Rematch.
Then that becomes a
Still the
pretty
table.
remarkable season, especially considering the fact that their offense has not been great this year, right?
So annoying.
And is finally getting kind of back up to
Yeah, they're
par
getting
with what they're
healthier.
used to.
I mean, still, I'm not sold on the DeAndre Hopkins thing yet. I got to see it. We'll see how he does
Yeah.
this week. Last week he was not that great, but they don't need him to be great. Like they have like the easiest schedule in the NFL. Like literally, they've got like 2 hard games. They got the Niners and they got the Bills, and that's it. The rest of the schedule is just crap. They just get this easy schedule. They get the refs. They got Taylor Swift. They got all this stuff going for them. It's so annoying. Done. Can't stand these guys.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Kansas City Barbecue.
I'm cooked.
All right,
my
folks.
God.
As
All right,
promised,
let's move on.
we're going to talk about what would be our ideal 5-game parlay.
5.
Now, we're gonna pick 5 games, against the spread, whatever,
Yeah.
and basically tell you what we think would be the right way to go. Again, you use your best judgment as to what
Do
you
it.
think is the right and wrong thing to do. But here we go. Okay.
All right, let's get into
So,
it.
The Dallas-Atlanta game, Atlanta's favored by -3. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not touching that game, right? So that's not
I don't
one
like.
of my 5.
I don't like to bet on this game either.
No.
On paper, I would say the way that Atlanta's playing, the way that Dallas is playing, I can see Atlanta winning this game and covering. But if I'm betting on the game, I don't want to put a bet on a like what if, you know what I'm saying? Like this is a
No,
what if game. And if
100%.
Dallas plays up to their potential, they could potentially win the game. So I
Yep.
don't want to bet on a what if. So I'm not going to do
Yep.
that. I do think that Atlanta will win this game. It's so tough, actually. You know, if I think about it, I think, you know what? I'm going to flip on that because Atlanta kind of is like weird like this. This is the kind of game that Atlanta loses. And Dallas comes in and wins. Like, this is the kind of a team that Atlanta's been. So, you know what? I'm going to flip my
Dallas
pick. I'm going
needs
to
a
say
spark, man.
Dallas wins this game. I'm not putting it my 5-team parlay, but I think Dallas is going to win this game.
This
Let's
is
go to the
definitely
next
not
one.
going in my 5-team odds parlay. You know what is going in my 5-team parlay?
Yeah.
Buffalo killing the Miami Dolphins at home.
I
Buffalo
knew
is
you'd say that.
favored by -6.
Yeah.
Listen, folks, I've never been quite sure of anything in my entire life, as I am of how the Dolphins play against the Buffalo Bills, specifically in Buffalo. Okay,
Yeah,
like
it's a tough one for them.
minus 6 is being generous.
What's the weather
Buffalo.
going to be like in
It doesn't
Buffalo?
matter. It could be 95 degrees and sweltering hot, and Miami's still going to lose this game, okay? So, I'm thinking Miami loses by at least 2 touchdowns. Okay, I don't think it's going to be a close game at all.
Damn.
Yeah, no, I have no faith that they're going to even put up a fight against the Bills. The
And
Bills
then
own the Dolphins, okay? They own them. And so whatever Dolphin fan is disillusioned out there that Miami has a sliver of a chance. I've seen some posts out there on X that are like, "Oh, if Miami gets this and they will go to 3-5, the rest." I'm like, okay, first off, like just stop that conversation. Like you've already discredited yourself because you're saying if they get to 3-5, they're not gonna get to 3-5. They're not winning this game. It's not happening. Book it. Buffalo easily gets the -6. They are one of my five games on my 5-game parlay here.
You know, I don't want to say that Miami's going to lose this game, but
They
they're
are.
going to lose this game.
They're
And
gonna lose this game.
Buffalo owns Miami. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we've seen it in the past, you know, like the best predictor of the future is the past. I don't know. Is that like
Yeah.
some saying? Is that Confucius or somebody? I
Well,
don't know. Doesn't
it's you now.
matter. It's the football Greek saying. You know, Miami is going to lose, and potentially they're going to trade Tyreek Hill after this game.
Yeah.
I think trade deadline is November 4th, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe.
November 3rd is the game.
We'll see.
Tyreek Hill coming to the Bay.
We'll see.
Let's go.
We'll see.
That was my last week. I'm sticking with it. I'm keeping that hope alive.
It was my prediction last week as well, but there's another team that desperately needs a receiver that I can't remember at the moment.
No.
Tampa freaking Bay.
Yeah.
He can stay in Florida and go to Tampa Bay. You know,
that's a chance.
You know, doesn't have to give up any of taxes or anything like that. That's attractive enough.
Yeah, that's attractive.
You know, he could go there, right? And that's a very winnable division, right? So
yeah, you never know. You never know.
We'll Baker throwing passes to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
I mean, that sounds,
Mike Evans. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That sounds pretty good. Anyways, Vegas Bengals. Bengals favored by -7. I'm not touching this game. This is not part of my 5 games. I am not sure what happens here. I don't know what version of the Raiders.
Joe Burrow, huh?
I just no, not necessarily that I'm not a believer of Joe Burrow. I think he's very good. Yeah. I think that this version of the Cincinnati Bengals is done. And what I mean by that is like this is still the remnants of the team that made it to the Super Bowl, right? Like this is still the core of that team.
Yeah.
And year over year they've gotten a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And I think this is the year where eventually T. Higgins gets traded or goes to another team.
Yeah.
Where eventually other key players get figured out, like find new places to go. I don't think the Bengals are the team that they were a few years ago where they made it to the Super Bowl or anything like that. And the Raiders are very much in rebuilding mode. I would not be shocked if Max Crosby gets traded before the trade deadline.
Well, he's got till Monday.
Yeah.
So I think this game actually is the Bengals victory.
-7.
I do.
Okay.
Bengals have they're not going to have T Higgins. He's doubtful. They're not going to have Zach Moss. He's doubtful. But Chase Brown seems to have taken over the running back duties. Before that, it doesn't even matter if he's in or out. But Chase Brown now is the guy. And like Zach Moss, my sleeper of the year, or whatever, that's out the window. Um, Chase Brown is the guy you want in that backfield, obviously, and he's going to have a huge game, being the only healthy running back with Zach Moss out. And Jamar Chase, man, and Joe Burrow, and then Mike Gesicki, the tight end, I think is gonna. Last week
Former
he had like
Dolphin, by the way.
yeah, last week he had 8 targets with Higgins out. So he's kind of like their second wide receiver with when Higgins has been out because he had like 7 targets the other game he was out. So
Yeah.
Mike Gesicki, if you need a tight end this week, that's the guy. I picked him up in my league. I'm playing him, so you might as well
Yeah.
follow my lead,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And I think I don't like this game as far as like, hey, I'm gonna put this on the kind of the parlay, 5-game parlay, but I do think it's a good bet that the Bengals are going to win this game. I don't
Yeah, I
covering
think the
7 points
Bengals
is
win.
tough.
I don't know if they cover 7, but the Bengals
Yeah,
win. I agree with that.
yeah,
The Chargers go to Cleveland, where the Chargers are favored by 1.5. This is in my 5-game parlay, and for me, it's Browns all day. I think the
yeah,
Browns win this straight up,
yeah.
and that is the game 2 of my 5 games because Jameis Winston obviously makes this team so much better. They shocked the NFL world by beating the Baltimore Ravens in Cleveland last week. Again, division
Yeah,
game. They stay in Cleveland,
yeah.
and the Chargers, you know, they haven't been great. They haven't been bad,
They're
but they are very
mediocre.
much figuring themselves out with Jim
Yeah,
Harbaugh, right?
very much so.
So yeah, I the Cleveland for me in this one.
And Cleveland is getting points in this game, correct?
Yeah,
They're
Chargers are
home
favored by
dogs.
their home
Yeah,
dogs, correct?
that's kind of stupid. Vegas, I don't know, Vegas. What are you doing here? This is easy. This is Cleveland. Like they got Jameis Winston now. They got
Yeah,
Cedric Tillman. They got Jerry Judy. They got Elijah Moore, Joku. They got a lot of weapons on offense. And
yeah,
Nick Chubb's back, man. Like
yeah.
Cleveland's defense legit. They got Miles Garrett,
Yes.
and bro, Denzel Ward. They got a squad, man. They're gonna turn it around. They're gonna win this game.
Yeah.
It's easy, bro. Like
Although Mike
they're
Tannenbaum on
giving you
ESPN was
points.
saying that Cleveland should trade Miles Garrett in exchange. Oh, who was it? He was saying, trade Miles Garrett to the Detroit Lions
Mm.
for 3 future first round picks
Yeah.
and Detroit's running back. I forgot his name.
Which one? Jameer Gibbs or David
Yeah,
Montgomery?
no, Gibbs.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't think they would take Montgomery over Gibbs. Gibbs is like he's like amazing, but like
Yeah,
they're still kind of giving Montgomery's like the kind of like the workhorse back, and they just give it for Gibbs for like the big play, and he gets in there, and they're like switching off,
yeah,
possessions, but
yeah. I'm not giving
Gibbs
up
is
three
the
first
guy.
round picks for anything. I did for
Yeah, no,
Tyreek
that's way
Hill,
too
and
much. It's
I
ridiculous.
mean, I love him, but whatever. Anyways,
Yeah,
moving on. So that's the game 2.
yeah.
New England at
Browns
Tennessee. Yeah, 100%. New
parlay.
England at Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee is favored by 3.5 because I believe Drake May is still out. Jacoby
Yes,
Brissett
Drake
is
May is out.
starting.
Yeah.
I'm not touching this game with a 10-foot pole. Not. There's
This
no.
is one of those
Definitely not.
ugly games that
Nope.
like no one should be betting on games like this that
Nope.
are so ugly. It's like you just have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to be a lot of mistakes, a lot of like some good defensive plays, some bad defensive plays.
I want
It's
no
going to
part of this
be
game.
one of those just like who knows what's going to happen. It could be a field goal game. It could be like a
No,
high
thank
scoring
you.
game. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And these are the types of games you don't want to bet on. So
No.
don't bet on this game.
Yeah.
If for me, like I would take the home team. I would take Tennessee. They just have a little bit more talent than New England. So, but
Yeah.
I would not bet on it.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to this division game. Washington Commanders play the New York Giants. Now, on paper, you'd be like, oh, Washington favored by -4. Easily, I'm going
Yeah.
to take Washington.
Yeah.
Let me remind you, it's a division game and it's on the road. The
Yeah.
Ravens lost to a division team on the road last week. The
Yeah.
Commanders very possibly could lose to a division team on the road this week. This is another game I'm not touching because I
Yeah.
love Jaden Daniels and I really like this Washington Commanders team, but I don't know if they're the type of team that wins the games that they absolutely should be winning, you know?
Yeah.
Yet, at
It's a
least.
little early to be making those kind of bold predictions and statements about this team.
Hmm.
But honestly, I do think Jaden Daniels is the real deal.
Hmm.
I think he's going to be the rookie of the year this year, and I do think this week he does beat the New York Giants. So I think that 4 points. It's tight, right? Is it going to be a
Hmm.
field goal game? Or are they going to win by a touchdown? Um, I think they're going to cover, honestly. So
Okay.
I would go with
This
Washington.
is your third game.
Um, I'll come back to it. So we got two games in the parlay. I got Buffalo and Cleveland right now
Correct.
in
Just like
mind.
me. Yeah. Yeah.
I and I'm not quite sure if I want to put this in the parlay. But so let's move on to the next one here.
All
I'll
right.
let you
Cool.
know. But
The New
I do
Orleans
think Washington's going to win. Yeah.
Saints
Yeah.
travel to Carolina
Yep.
division game.
Yes.
Derek Carr coming back in this
Yes.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Young in at
Yes.
quarterback for
Yes.
Carolina.
Yes. He's
New
terrible.
Orleans favored by -7.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, when you reminded me that Bryce Young was quarterbacking for the Panthers this week,
Mm-hmm.
this made it easy for me. This is my
Yeah.
third game. I'm
Yeah.
taking New Orleans. I think
I'm
I
with you.
think it's not even close. Not that it's not even close, but I think they cover the 7 for
Yeah,
sure.
New Orleans, they got Kamara, they got
Yeah.
Derek Carr back. They
Kamara just got
have
paid too,
they
so he's
yeah.
motivated to play. They got Carr back, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've got the defense, and Olave's been playing well for them with Shaheed out. So they got their weapons, and they got Taysom Hill now. He's back to the Swiss Army knife, throwing the ball, running the ball, catching the ball. Doing all those things. And
Slash. Cordell Stewart.
yeah,
Slash.
yeah,
Slash.
he's like the big hulking slash. I don't know. Yeah, like dude's huge.
Yeah.
Taysom is the biggest quarterback I've ever seen. But anyways, moving on to the winner of this game is the New Orleans Saints, and
Okay.
I think this is a pretty easy pick. I would definitely include them in our
Yeah.
5-game parlay. Number 3. Let's
Look at
go.
this, man.
Move on
And
to the
they
next
need
one.
this 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
This will be a
They'll
much
get
needed
it. They're
win
gonna win
for
this game.
sure. We've already
Yeah.
talked about Denver and Baltimore. My question to you is, do you think Baltimore covers the 9.5? And I think you already answered that
Oof.
question.
Yeah, I do. I think they're gonna cover the 9.5. I'm not gonna put this game in our parlay, but I do
Mhm.
think Baltimore is gonna win this game. They're gonna, they're at home. They're coming off a tough defeat. They're gonna come out swinging, and they added another weapon in Deontay Johnson and Derrick Henry. They've got running strong, and Lamar is having MVP season. So Baltimore.
All right, let's get through this.
Yeah.
Jacksonville travels to Philly. Philly's favored by -7.5. Now, on paper, again, you'd be like, easy. But,
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville hasn't been one of those teams that, at least in my opinion, that has been trampled outside of Buffalo. I think Buffalo killed them 31-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
But they've stuck in these games. They almost beat the Colts. They almost beat the Dolphins. They could very realistically have a 4-3 record right now as opposed to a 2-6, or a 4-4 record, excuse me, as opposed to 2-6. So to me, I think Philly wins. I think that they're doing great. The 7.5 is where I struggle.
Yeah.
So they're not in my 5-game parlay. What about you?
Philly's they're rolling right now. They got
Yeah.
Saquon, they got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts is playing a little bit better. They're gonna win this game, and they're gonna win by more than a touchdown and a half.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'll put Philly in my 5-game parlay. I
Okay.
feel that
Philly's in your
strongly about
5-game.
this game. Yeah, so
All right.
that's number 4 for me.
That's 4 for you. All right.
Yep.
All right, next up we have the Chicago Bears traveling to Arizona. Arizona favored by -1 at home. It's
Yeah.
basically a pick 'em game. This is
Yeah.
where things get interesting for me. This is the one where I'm
Very
kind of playing
interesting.
with fire because
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna pick. Now, listen, I witnessed Arizona pull some miracle ass stuff last week against the Dolphins, but granted, it's the Dolphins. Um, their offense looks decent, man. The Arizona's defense is suspect. But
Yes.
Chicago's defense, to your point that we talked about before we went on air today, is that
They're carrying them.
they're
They
carrying
carry
them.
their team. Yeah.
To me, since it's a pick 'em, I pick Chicago, and this is
Okay.
my fourth game of my parlay.
Okay.
Is
Oh,
Chicago
wow.
straight up
Woo.
winning?
Woo.
Yeah, that's
Oh, this is bold.
it's bold because this game really could go either way.
Yeah.
But Chicago coming off that tough last second loss to the Commanders, that Hail Mary that had all sorts of holding penalties that didn't get called and all that stuff. And it was an amazing play when it happened, when you sit there and dissect it. Chicago did kind of get robbed on that play.
They did.
And
They did.
so for me, this is easily a 5-2 team when they should be 5-2, but they're 4 and
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
I pick Chicago. It's for me. That's what I'm thinking. What about you?
Yeah. The Cardinals are playing pretty good football right
They
now,
are.
and they're kind of
Hmm.
like in the division hunt, essentially at this point.
Yep.
I kind of believe in Kyler Murray and
Right.
his friends there, Marvin Harrison Jr. and
Oh yeah.
James Conner. The guy's always running hard.
Hmm.
So like I have that belief, and I know Chicago is playing pretty good defense right now, but I just don't have that trust in Caleb Williams and the offensive side of the ball. So
Hmm.
I am going to say that the Cardinals are going to win this game, and they're going to be They're going to be the division leaders after this
Okay.
week
All right. We'll
of the
see.
NFC West.
We talked about Detroit and Green Bay already,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about the
Yes,
Rams and Seahawks already.
we
So
did.
let's go to the Sunday nighter.
Yeah.
Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson is benched for the foreseeable future. Joe
Yes.
Flacco is the starter moving forward
Yes.
officially, which gives the
Yes.
Colts a much better chance because the division is in reach. They're only 2 games behind Houston, and if they win, they'll be 1 game behind. And Minnesota coming off of back-to-back losses in 5 days, looking to get back on the winning track. Minnesota favored by 5.5 at home, and this is my game 5 of my parlay. I think Minnesota reclaims a win or gets a win and goes back into the gets a win in the win column. Thank you. It's another win in the win column and goes to 6-2. I love Joe Flacco. I love this story. I really wish Joe Flacco was a Miami Dolphin right now instead of an Indianapolis Colt. But we play with the cards that were dealt, and it is what it is. I
Yeah.
think Brian Flores gets his defense back on track, and I think Minnesota gets the win. I think they cover the 5.5. That is my 5th game of my 5-game parlay.
I am not. I'm. I am not a as much a believer in Flacco as you are. As
Mm-hmm.
far as like, even though like he did beat us in the 2012 Super Bowl way back when, which is disappointing to
Still
me.
stings.
Does
Still
everything?
stings.
It all still stings. I'll never forget. Just sucks. Anyways, I do think Minnesota's going to win this game. They're going to bounce back. They're at home. They're playing an inferior opponent in the Colts, and I think the Colts might even start trading some people. Like I've heard rumors, and like I'm hoping and praying that this comes to fruition. But DeForest Buckner, he's supposedly on the block, and I would love to have him come back home to the
Yeah.
49ers.
Yeah.
And they really need it. They really need, after they lost Javon Hargrave, and they're having a little bit of trouble stopping the run, and they really could use a guy like DeForest Buckner. He is a really, really good defensive player. And so I do think, but I do think Minnesota's going to win this game, and I think they're going to cover. And this is also my 5th game.
Boom. There you go.
We're good. So to recap, you want to
Yep.
recap your 5, and I'll recap my 5?
Absolutely. So my 5 are the Bills beating the Dolphins, covering the 6. Cleveland beating the Chargers outright.
Yeah.
New Orleans covering the -7 against Carolina.
Yeah.
Chicago beating Arizona outright.
Yeah.
And Minnesota covering the 5.5 against the Colts. Whereas your 5 are also the Bills covering the Dolphins.
Cleveland
beating Chargers outright.
Yeah.
Your third
New Orleans
game was New Orleans covering the 7.
Yep.
You have Baltimore winning by 10, basically.
That's not part of my parlay, though.
Oh, no, it's Chicago. I'm sorry, Philadelphia.
I have Philly. Philly is part of my parlay.
Yep.
So Philly covering the 7.5?
7.5. Yep.
Against Jacksonville, and also Minnesota covering the 5.5?
5.5.
Against Indianapolis. We also have the Chiefs winning. We already talked about that. I have Green Bay, you have Detroit, and then I think we both have the Rams winning against Seattle this week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Is that what you got?
Correct.
So that's kind of to wrap up our picks.
We're already 0-1 though, because we both picked Houston to beat the Jets.
Yeah, we did.
And that obviously didn't work out. But
we'll see how the rest of the week goes. But yeah, also a good bet if you want to bet on Monday night. We're not going to include that in our 5-game parlay because we're kind of just doing Sunday stuff. But Monday night, pretty easy bet. Bet on the Chiefs. They're gonna go to 8-0, probably 9-0, and then maybe
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in that Buffalo game.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in that Buffalo game.
A thought for another day.
Those are our picks for week 9 of the NFL. Let us know what you think is going to happen, what your predictions are for the season. And as always, you can like and subscribe to the PTW podcast. And wherever you listen to us on your favorite podcasting app of choice, we thank you so much for listening in. Until next time, my name is Amir from the PTW podcast. This is Tassi, the Football Greek. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.
Freaking Chiefs.